It has recently been brought to my attention that quite some time has elapsed since our last catastrophically failed engine on this channel. That is a wrong that I must right. The last several engines I've torn down were just kind of bad. And I know what that does to you all. I know that leaves a void for carnage that grows every single week. But to come up with such an engine that fills that void doesn't just happen out of thin air. I need things like smashed spark plugs, broken rods, piston nuggets. I need holes in the crankcase for your viewing pleasure. If I were to need all of those things all at one time, what should I look for? How would I find one? What kind of engine would be on my stand today to fill that void? Well, a Subaru. Of course, a Subaru. Today we're going to tear down this 2-liter turbo JDM EJ20X. Yes, a Japanese domestic market engine has made its way onto this stand. Yet, it was provided by a salvage yard that my buddy runs in Mertztown, Pennsylvania called P&P Auto Specialties. They are a Subaru specialty yard. They do hundreds of Subarus every single year. If you need anything for your Subaru, an engine, a CVT transmission, you want a 6-speed swap, an STI swap, he's got all of that stuff. FRSs, BRZs. If Subaru made it, there's a good chance that he's got it. So if you need those parts, I'm going to leave a link to his website and his email address in the top of today's video description. Back to this thing. Why do people import engines from Japan? Well, there's a few different reasons. Number one, it was never offered here and it is somehow superior, which is the case many times. Another reason that people bring engines in is that you can find very low mileage examples that are plug and play here in the States that are much more difficult to find with such low miles. The other reason, and likely the reason this engine is here, is that it's cheap. Yes, it's cheap. The comparable EJ205 that this engine replaced is double or almost triple the cost of one of these engines. These engines are $800, $1,000, $1,200, whereas a replacement EJ205 with good miles is $2,800, $3,000. So there's a good reason why people buy these engines. However, they are not the same. They are not something that you could just grab and plug into your vehicle and everything works fine. You need to tune them. They are higher compression. They have variable valve timing, something that our 2-liters never had. So there's a lot of things that you need to do to properly install them, and it's been my experience as well as Pete's that the people that are price conscious when it comes to their 2-liters sometimes, not always, take some shortcuts and don't do those things, and well, this is probably the result. So the reason I say this engine is pretty bad is because it's pretty bad. And obviously someone very skilled installed this engine. Highly skilled. So this is going to be fun. I don't really know where to start, but I think we should turn it over. Oh yeah, feels fine. That's fine. Ooh, I feel like I've reached the end. Let's go backwards. Don't do that on your own engine. I can hear some compression, which means, nope, that's it. So it turns most of the way over. I wouldn't consider it mostly good. Next, we'll pull the spark plugs and take a look. I'm sure these will come right out. Okay, that's not right. The impact will do this just fine. Not fine. Back to the ratchet. It seems we have some trouble. We're getting somewhere. Either that or I've worn the metal down and it's just spinning. It's coming out, I think. Let's try the impact now. Wow. I'm sure that was the only one that was like that. Yeah, see, that one's nice and easy. Cake. Well, I think it's pretty clear to see which one is a problem. Now, this spark plug, and this spark plug are wet. Now, this spark plug is gone. I mean, it's it's there. It's not exactly in the same shape that it's supposed to be, and that is exactly why it was so difficult to get out. We're going to definitely have some malice in today's Combustion Palace. This might be a little nitpicky, but as you can see, this belt has AC written on it, which means it came off of another engine and was reinstalled onto this. I'm not going to say I've never used a used belt, but when I'm installing a new engine, unless I know that I recently replaced that belt, it gets new belt. It was also installed looser than a Chrysler valve seat. The next thing to remove is this belt tensioner so that we can get the AC compressor and bracket off. That was unnecessarily tight.
Ow!
Oh yeah? Really, you want to do that to me? These are really tight for no reason. That one's not. Look at so much more room. And now the power steering pump. It's got a remanufactured pump on it. No, I'm not going to throw it. Oh, there's more damage. What do we have here? That looks like a part of the block. That's definitely block. That looks like it's out of the coolant pipe. There's some casting numbers. That was the bolt out of the power steering. There's lots of good stuff here. I'll get this coolant reservoir. And just a reminder, if there's something on this engine that you guys want, whether it's good or bad, for whatever reason, it's all for sale. Or it's going to get thrown away or listed on eBay. When I say thrown away, I mean recycled. Now I'm going to start unbolting the intake manifold. That's loose. Okay, this comes off somehow. I know it does. I don't know if that helped me. That helped me. This is a jungle of stuff done wrong. I'm not even a Subaru guy, and I can tell that someone's been here. Let's see how loose this intake is. Oh, I need to get the fuel lines off. And there's some questionable activity going on up here too. I don't know what was happening here. I feel like there might have been an easier way. Well, that helped. We're getting there. It wiggles now. Maybe I'll take this contraption apart. There's so many clamps. I'm going to be here all day. Ah, yes. Did I work on this before? I don't think that's my work. The good news is that these were fuel lines. I'm not kidding. These are the fuel lines. Why was it this way? Well, I have a feeling we're going to find more of this quality of repair the further we dive. I've had about enough of this. Oh, relax. You guys didn't want that hose anyway. Oh, we got the harness routed wrong, I think. Whatever this mess of... Oh, there's a crank sensor up here. It's about the only connector intact. Oh, we're more looser now? Oh, more hoses. Another hose. Now we just dropped the clamp that I'd like to show you guys. These are very high end. There's 2 points of adjustment in one of these clamps, or actually, this is what happens when you lose the original clamp and you decide to make one out of two. I'd be lying if I said I never did that. But the intake's off. Next, I'm going to spend just a minute and remove the rest of this harness. I feel like the same person that worked on that Miata worked on this thing, because I think I found 6 or 7 broken locking tabs on this harness. Next, I'm going to remove these lower manifolds, which are TGVs. Oh, there's something inhibiting this one. It's not supposed to be at that angle. What could possibly be... Oh, there's bits of aluminum in there. All right, we're going to get these out of the way. Let's have a peek down the old gullet. This is the right side bank. Looks okay. It looks okay. And that is not okay. I got 2 Willy Wonka intake valves. And a broken guide. 2 broken guides. Surely this one will be nicer. And it is. Let's get some use out of this extra inspection port that they added. And we can tell it's not good in there. Next, let's get this crank pulley bolt out. It's fine. Now the center timing cover. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Next, I'm going to get access to the cam gear bolts. Ooh, oil. Let's get ready to catch it on this side. Well, the timing belt certainly isn't new. It's got some shiny spots worn into it. This roller has quite a bit of rubber transfer onto it, so I bet the bearing is not so great in there. I don't see it. It's not really coming apart. It just doesn't look great. So we're going to go ahead and peel this thing off. I'm going to start by hoping I can get these bolts out of the cam gears. These can be kind of tricky at times. Please come out. It's going to be like that. Okay, let's get the big bar. Now before I try to get them out and round them off, I'm going to give these a little, maybe you can break the seal a little bit. I don't know if that's going to do anything. The other semi-nice thing is that there's a crankshaft locking device inside. Yeah. Bad stuff's happening. One thing I just noticed is that this has a timing belt guard, so this is originally out of a manual transmission. The automatic transmissions don't have this piece here. This is for if a vehicle rolls backwards in gear, that it doesn't make the belt jump like what I'm doing here to get this apart. So this, hit it with the impact and see if we can do anything different. It's laughing. Let's give this another go. And for good measure, I'm going to put this piece of wood in here. I don't know what that's going to do, but I feel better about it. I seem to be riding the struggle bus. Okay. I guess we'll get the big impact. Let's get it a little warm. All right, I breathed on it a little bit. That did it. Let's try it again. One more. I breathed on this one for quite some time. Yeah. Now we can start to peel the stuff off the front of the engine. And this will just come right off. Oh, I guess I got to take that guard off. I'll keep that, but not the belt. Now the tensioner. Wow. It's got quite a lot of wear. It looks like an original part. NTN Japan. It looks like it's in really good shape. I don't know if these will just slide right off, but they do slide right off. Very nice. And while we're here, we'll get the rear timing covers. Okay. Well, then I guess I'll... Is that it? Ah, yeah, that's it. The next thing I'm going to do is start on the left valve cover. First, we have to get this pair of clamps off. I think George Thorogood probably asked for this extra clamp. You know, one clamp ain't enough. You better make it. What size is this? 2? What in tarnation? Who made this clamp? Who did this? That's not right. 2 clamps, and I don't even know what size that is. That's a 1/4, but the wrong end. Okay then. I've decided to use blue to get this apart. We're just going to do the wrong thing. Fixed it. All right, now we got a few 10s to remove. Mainly, well, I guess that all comes off of one piece, so. Very good. Now this should just pop right off. See what the inside of this JDM engine looks like. Well, kind of sludgy. Not as bad as we've seen, but not great. Well, this has a nice golden hue to it. It's not terrible, but it's also not perfect. There's still some oil in here. I don't see any metal deposits or forbidden glitter. Something tells me we're going to find it later. Next, the right bank. More sludgy stuff at the bottom. Very similar story on this side. I don't really see anything too terribly out of place. There's just a considerable amount of sludge and gunk at the bottom. I don't see any large chunks of aluminum though, so that's good. What isn't good, however, orange RTV is a signature of a competent mechanic. That was not true. Okay. Sometimes you just gotta make do with what you got, I suppose. And that's what they did. There's another block off plate here that they made. I don't know if that was something for the crankcase ventilation, secondary air injection. I don't know. Now we're going to take a minute and strip the top of this engine. It'll make it easier to pull the cylinder heads. Okay, that's in good shape. Perfect. Be very careful with this rubber hose. Nice straight cut. It's a nice performance part right there. All right, now it's time to crack these cam caps. It's not really a cap. I guess you could consider this assembly a cap. Loose. These are caps. Let these crammed loose. Ooh, spit at me. Cams should just slide out once these are out. Okay then. Just gonna give him a little tap. That was violent. Whoa! Well, at first, not so bad. And then a little worse. And then worse. Significantly worse. And the oil does not look good that's in this thing. The caps are not great. Not terrible for these, but these, not good. And the cams are bad. I mean, maybe they're good. No, they're not good. That's bad. Deep scoring and scratching. Now, we'll crack these head bolts loose. Okay, hopefully this head just pops right off. Well, 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 well. That was a piece of aluminum. That's not supposed to be there. We got to do our test, though. That's the rules. Got to start with a test. Hey, that's not bad. The cylinders don't look too bad, but the pistons have stamp marks from debris being stamped into the combustion chamber of the cylinder head. That one is not so bad, but there's still some marks right there. And the head, I think we can get this head gasket out of the way. It's an MLS gasket. It looks okay. The head definitely has some damage to the combustion chamber. And there is still some debris stuck in the head. Otherwise, I don't see anything major. Now we need to clean up a few things before we can start on the other head. First, this dipstick tube. That was too easy. That looks great. Looks like it's got a little bit of silver paint on it. I think this is the final piece here. And it's off. Let's crack these off next. Ooh, it bubbles. Let's see if this one will do that. A little bit. Well, it's pretty similar to the other side. Rear journals, yuck. And then this journal's really got a lot of debris in it. That doesn't look like only oil. And the caps, if you want to call them that, mirror pretty well what this looks like. The cams are just destroyed. That one isn't quite as bad, but it's still bad. Let's crack these head bolts loose. Okay, what lies behind head number 2? That's not supposed to be there. Oh, well, we found some of the problems. The wrist pin is still good. The rod, then we have a pretty good size nugget meal here, piston nuggets, hammer forged. That's a valve. And there's nothing else. It's gone. That's boring. That's a huge chunk of the engine that's not supposed to be loose. Wow, this is quite impressive. Now this is what makes a Subaru a Subaru. They don't just kind of blow up. They do this. This isn't the first time we've seen this on this channel either. Man, look at how many deep gouges there are. And the damage to the bottom of the block half, and a bent rod is still bolted-ish to the crank. And then a very clean piston. That's suspicious. It is very easy to see which cylinder is the problem. I don't see any problems with the head gasket. Actually, no. That's not good. Did this overheat? Look at that thing. This is bad. This is quite literally destroyed in every sense. You can see why that spark plug was so hard to remove. It rethreaded itself as I removed it. Large dings and dents. I'm sure this was like a silent explosion. No one heard a thing or felt a thing. It's probably registered on the Richter scale. And then this one looks suspiciously clean. And here's the booty that came out of that side of the block. We've got our mint condition wrist pin. We just need to relieve it of what's left of the small end of the rod. Got 3 hammer forged piston nuggets. 1 part of a intake valve, I think. No, that's an exhaust valve. And then that's part of the block. That's not the actual bore. Where did the bore go? Oh, I bet we'll find it. All right. I know this might seem like a waste of effort, but we still need to do our test. Hey, can I have that back? Now the question on everyone's mind. Did I fix it? Does it turn over now? We still have problems. Let's see if we can power through it. Uh-oh, I did it now. Why'd you let me do that? That was a bad idea. All right, next, might as well remove the water pump since we're here. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's pour whatever liquid this is out. That wasn't coolant. Let's take a look at this thing. It says Yamada. Spins really nice. Looks like it might be an original. Boy, wouldn't that be crazy? Hard to tell, but it looks like a perfect condition water pump.
So what else do you need off this thing?
Alright, wrap this up, let's get this taillights off, let's get the rear bumper cover off, and most importantly, let's get this tailgate off, alright? Got that? Alright.
Well, I guess I don't gotta do that anymore.
The next thing I'd like to do is pull the oil filter. Pull the... Nope, pliers. I just have weak hands tonight. That's not oil. It's chunky. It's a word you never want to describe oil as. Well, no wonder it blew up. It's got liquid molasses in here with chunks of tar. Well, I listened to you guys. I did the best I could. I took the filter apart and smashed it in the vise to get most of the oil out, and I got some of the oil out. As you can tell, there's definitely some metal, but it's not loaded up. It's not like it's just packed full of normal Subaru bearing material. It's actually just a little bit of metal. Now let's work on the oil pump. Yep, we're leaking. We're leaking water out of the oil pump. That's not what that's supposed to do. I'm sure it's from when the bore came apart in that cylinder. Let's go take this apart. Let go, will you? All right, let's give this a brake clean bath so we can see what we're looking at. Well, as you can see, there is some damage to the outside of this gear. Some on that side of the gear as well. And it's really hard to tell. There's a little bit of wear on that part, the inside. There's definitely been some debris run through here. Look at the impact marks. There actually still is some debris in here. I guess I didn't do a good job washing this. And as you'd expect, the housing, definite damage. Not as bad as you'd expect for the level of damage to the engine, but still not good. All right, the next thing I'm going to do before I flip this over is drain the engine sauce from the water pan. Oh, that's already loose. Well, that looks more like oil than anything else we've seen in this engine. So that is oil. And this is not tapioca pudding. All right, now we're going to continue to rotate it. I think I might just do this vertically. Ooh, it sounds like there's loose stuff in the pan. Yeah, I'm just going to do this kind of at that angle. I'm actually going to rotate this a little lower just in case stuff goes a-flying. All right, I'm going to use my tool of choice. I decided to remove my drain pan or anything like it. I just hope it pans out for me. There we are. A cork gasket and a party basket. I did not mean to rhyme. It's by accident. Wow, there's some junk in here. Holy cow. I'm going to kind of rinse this out a little bit. There's still a lot of muck. I got the drain plug out of it, so hopefully I can... Ooh, this is not going to work. No. We're just going to have to pick through the rubble. So the inside of the pan is quite grand. Let's just see if we can identify some of this stuff. Ooh, I know what this is. That's part of a piston. Piston. It's part of a ring. I have no idea. There is, bigger pieces over here. Piston. Wow. Oh, hey. There's the, that looks like a rod cap bolt. You know what I'm going to do? Something that I shouldn't do. It's fine. Just don't look at it. I have a plan, okay? I'll let you know when I find out what that is. What if I just give it the old, you know. Nope, still got more in it. I think I got the big pieces. Wow. Powder. Let's clean this stuff up. I don't really know what I'm going to do when I get this all clean. So this is, I'm going to use the term cleaned loosely. This is the larger stuff. We've got the smaller fragments on this one here, and the powdered material inside the oil pan. Also a cork gasket. I didn't realize I was working on a Model T engine. There's some identifiable parts here. There's a rod cap bolt. We've got some rings. That's bore. I see ring lands. I don't see any sections of rod, which is odd, to be honest. Oh, hey, a circlip. Yeah, this is pretty bad. We haven't had one like this in quite some time. All right, now we're going to turn this thing all the way over. Take a look at the bottom. How bad could that be? Are we going to leak anything? Mystery fluid. Oh, I hear more loose stuff. I have no idea what this stuff is. It's falling, and it's fine. Somehow there's not a lot of signs of what the top looks like on the bottom. Obviously, we've got some chunks of metal in places. That's fine. Don't look there. And there's a few slivers of metal in the pickup, but it's certainly not clogged with metal. That's not what killed it. And a cork gasket, that just boggles my mind. I didn't expect to see that here. Next, we're going to pull the pickup, and do you want to call that a windage tray? I don't know if I want to call it a windage tray. Oh, now I see some problems. So it looks like that's a section of block, or maybe a piston skirt, but probably block. And yep, there's some bad stuff in there. Well, you can definitely tell that there was something wrong. Not that we couldn't already. While we have this in this position, I'm going to remove this bolt that holds the two block halves together. Now I'm going to remove these plugs, which gives us access to the wrist pins. Let's break some more case bolts loose. Ooh, that one hissed at me. Fish out some of this metal here. Does this not fit in here? It does not. Well, that's not fun. I think there's a few more bolts over here. All right. I think I have the 6 on this side. I feel like I'm missing one. Well, I know there's one inside the bell housing. Oh, we're dropping stuff. I think this is the last one I need to loosen. Okay, now it is time to get the short block off the stand and on the table. We're just gonna zip the bolts out and keep our fingers crossed. See, 2 bolts out and it barely flinched. The bottom 2 are on studs. Now, for all the tea in China, will this look at that. This seems really safe. All the safety. I'm sure you guys have done stuff like this. No? Just me? Okay. The next thing I'm going to attempt is to remove this plate. Well, I think that's the first time that all the bolts came out. Oh, look what we got here. A teaser, an appetizer. We've got another one of those plugs to get out. Again, that's to access the wrist pins. Okie dokie. I should probably get those out. I'll try. In order to split the block casing on one of these engines, you need to turn it into a position which makes the wrist pin accessible through this hole, which is why I pulled all those plugs and covers. To split this, the pistons stay in the block halves, or if there's pistons there, and the crank and rods will stay together. We can pull that apart once we get it all the way split. So now we're going to turn the engine over to where that lines up. I hope I didn't screw myself over earlier, which I probably did, and it's fine. Oh, look, it's kicking stuff out. So we'll just turn this over until it makes sense. Just like so. So what I'm going to do is remove that circlip, and once that's out of the way, I will be able to drive the wrist pin through the hole, and then they are detached. So first, let's grab my pliers, see if we can get that circlip out. Something happened. I think I got the circlip out. I feel it in there. It's fine. It's out of the way. That's all that matters. And now I'm going to try to drive that wrist pin through the crankcase. All right, I've got an extremely long screwdriver, and we're going to give it some light taparoos. Hey, that sounded like success. And now we just need to do that 2 more times since one of the wrist pins has already been removed. Now we can remove this circlip. There's all kinds of room on this side since there's only one wrist pin. Sorry guys, I just have this last wrist pin. And there we go. Come here. I say come here. This thing is a little... There we go. It fell down in the hole and we got it out. Let me tap this one out. And all the wrist pins are out. Okay, let's start zipping some bolts out. Normally there's another one here, but who knows where that's at. Oh yeah, I still have that one to fight. Okay, we'll come back to that. We'll leave that one for last. Okay, I left the hardest one for last, like a good, smart person. This is a great idea. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. I won't know until this. Probably should have done that on the stand. Yeah, it's fine. I think I got them all. That could have been bad. Yeah, that's all of them. Normally there isn't a very good place to pry, but the way this blew up kind of changed that for us. Look at that. Might have to flip this thing over, just maybe. It usually helps when you get all the bolts out. Like butter. You're not supposed to split butter. And there's one block half, and then this should just... There we are. Oh. Well, I suppose it's time to pop some pistons out of this thing, or piston? Yes, piston, one. I usually just tap right out. We'll put this one aside. And this one, I don't know if you can see, there's a bit of damage here. Not that we expected otherwise. We'll just leave that be for now and knock these pistons out. This one is very wedged. Why? Wow. Oh, I see. Yep, that'll do it. Will this one be the same? This one will probably come out a little easier. Now it's time to get the rods off the crankshaft. This one appears to be not coming off. We'll try, but no promises. Wow, that's really tight. You know what? I'm sure there's no way this is going to do it, but... Ho. But I was wrong. Now, the blown up one. Can we do this? Maybe. We have a hammer. Well. Wouldn't you know the spun bearing has made an appearance? That's a normal amount of force. There we are. We did it, guys. Now we just have two more rods. This is definitely not like a normal engine. It's not as organized. And then there was one. All right, well, I'm going to take a minute and organize all this junk, and I'll come right back. Let's start off with the rod bearings. That's the best pair. That's not good. Very heavily worn. This is from the cylinder that, let go. And these were actually spun. That was hard to see, but these had rotated probably about 30 degrees. Heavily worn, and again, heavily worn rod bearings. And things start off pretty normal with this cylinder, and then they quickly, we all know what happened here. The wrist pin is still good, but it is trapped by the small end of the rod. What's odd is that the rod only looks like it broke in 2 pieces. It didn't shatter. And this end of the rod and this did most of the damage. Look at all the marks on that thing. Just beating everything that it could reach. These things have been hit a time or two. You know, it doesn't matter if they're hammer forged, if they're no longer shaped like a normal piston. The rings are all mangled. It's just a wreck. But as soon as you get away from that cylinder, things return back to normal. I didn't see a ton of damage. There's a few marks on the bottom of these pistons from flying shrapnel. Nothing is too terrible. Even the bottom of this one, there's a few marks. But the damage was very well confined to that single cylinder. The main bearings are in better shape, but still very worn. This is bad, guys. You do not want to see your bearings look like this. And amazingly, the crankshaft, it isn't as bad as you would expect. This is the cylinder with most of the damage. You can see this is pretty bad, but we've seen much worse especially on these Subaru engines. If you haven't seen the last Subaru engine I've done, you ought to go check that out. I'll leave a link. But man, I expected much worse than this. And the block halves, this is the one that was blown out on the top. You can see lots of damage inside. If this thing would ever focus, which it won't, so it's okay. And then the opposing block half, much fewer damage, but this is actually the cylinder where the damage originated, or where it let go. That's just amazing. I'm sure it just started making noise and then it blew up. It didn't have any warning signs. I'm not trying to tell you that you should never buy an engine out of Japan and that all JDM engines have problems. That's the furthest thing from the truth, and that's not the message I'm trying to convey. There's some really cool engines I'd have no problems buying out of Japan or any other country. The JDM STIs, the EJ20X, people pay a lot of money for them, and they usually get a good product when they do so. But there is a lot of risk when you buy the cheap stuff. There's a lot because you don't know how it's been taken care of, and there are so many hands involved in getting that engine across the pond, getting it into America or wherever you live, that you lose a lot of details. You lose a lot of credibility. You don't know how many miles are on it, what the maintenance history is. Sometimes you don't even know what it's out of. And there are differences. Not every country has the same emissions, compression, octane, ignition, cam timing, manifolds, cylinder heads. I could go on and on. Sometimes it's a direct swap. You don't need to change anything. Sometimes the entire thing is different. Maybe there's not a place to put a crank sensor, and then you can't start the car because it's OBD2 and they didn't have that somewhere else. All I'm saying is, if you're going to buy an engine and it's a cheaper engine from Japan or even an expensive one or from anywhere and it's not a direct replacement, there are things you need to do. You need to do your due diligence. It needs to be tuned. You need to know what other parts you need to get it to work correctly. And the level of craftsmanship we saw with this engine is kind of on par with the kind of damage we found. It's been some time since I've torn down an engine that's this bad, and kind of forgot how much fun it is. Most of the time I'm really concerned with keeping things in order, making sure the parts are in really good shape, and I don't damage anything further. But in this case, did I pull any good parts off of this? I don't think so. I think it's all bad. I mean, could you use some of it? Valve covers, ignition coils, throttle body. Did I miss anything? No. Not a lot of good stuff on this, but that's how Subarus typically are. If you've seen any of the other Subaru teardowns on this channel, they're either just a little bad or they are completely annihilated, which that's just how Subaru engines are. And I'm not trying to sound like I don't like Subaru cars. I don't own any. I have owned them. They're just not for me. They are for some people, and a lot of people really love them. And if you're one of those people and you need parts for your Subaru, don't forget to go to PMP's website. I'm going to leave it in the video description. I'm going to also leave their email in the description. They supply today's engine, so you all owe Pete a huge thank you. I really hope you enjoyed this teardown. If you'd like to buy any parts off of this engine, that's the only Subaru stuff I have. Or if you want parts off of this 2001 Miata SE, this is not the butcher shop car. This is a parts car. I promise it's not the butcher shop car, but it is available for parts, so I'm going to leave our email in the video description. You can also go to importapart.com and peruse our inventory. I've been uploading it just about every single week. Really hope you enjoyed this teardown as always. I love all the comments, all the feedback, and even the criticism. I love it all, and I'll catch you on the next one.